Welcome everyone to the first ever edition of Friday Fan Fun here on OTRSCentral. Every Friday, the Schleg Daddy, that's me, is going to take you, the OTRSCentral viewer, to places that you've never been and places that this show has never dared to go. This series is all about celebrating the fun that is professional wrestling and the fun that goes along with being a professional wrestling fan. And I decided that when you're trying to get over a new concept or a new idea, it's best if you bring in the big guns. And my guest today definitely fits the definition of big guns. The U.S. government may technically call him Terry Bollea, but you know him by a different name, don't you? You know him as the biggest star in the history of the professional wrestling business. Please join me in giving a very, very warm OTRSCentral welcome to the one, the only, the immortal Hulk Hogan.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. When the Hulkster found out that he was going to get paid for this appearance, dude, it was really a no-brainer when I heard one of my biggest Hulkamaniacs of all time, the Schleg Daddy, needed my help with this Friday Fan Fun series, brother. It should be a lot of fun, brother. What you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you?
Now, Hulkster, first off, let me say it's a pleasure and a privilege to have you here on the show. And I just want to say that I've been a lifelong fan of yours, and you're the reason that I became a professional wrestling fan. Now, let's get started here. My first question for you. So many people around the world saw you in that genius Super Bowl ad with Radio Shack. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got involved in that project and what the reaction's been like since you appeared in that ad last Sunday?
Well, you know something, brother. I realized Radio Shack was really falling on some hard times, dude. So I went to Radio Shack's corporate headquarters, and I said, I've got a hell of an idea for you, brother, and here's how I lay it out, brother. You've got the Hulkster, brother, the biggest star of the 80s, brother, the biggest star in the history of the world of all time, brother, and you bring in some other stars from the 80s, and then you sit there, and you have somebody call and say they wanted their store back, brother, oh, brother. And you know, the way it worked, dude, was everybody was on board with it, and everybody realized that this was going to be the most memorable ad from Super Bowl 48, brother. You know what I say? Troy Aikman can suck my dick, brother. I told him that Rent-A-Center ads will be better with just me, brother, and I proved it with the Super Bowl 48 Radio Shack ad, brother. You know, my other idea is I'm going to sit there and suggest to them at Radio Shack that they now call it Hulk Hogan's Radio Shack, brother, because when you put the Hogan name on something, dude, it means business.
Yes, indeed, Hulkster. Fuck Troy Aikman, indeed. Now, my next question I've got for you is, you're just a few months removed from your 3+ years with TNA Impact Wrestling, and many fans say that you and Eric Bischoff didn't deliver on your promises. You made TNA a very, very poor man's WCW and ultimately did the company a lot of harm. I know. What I want to know is, how do you feel about your time in TNA? What is perhaps your biggest regret during your time there? How do you respond to that criticism? And did your time in TNA diminish your legacy in any way?
Let me tell you something, brother. In late 2009, dude, Dixie Carter called and said she was in a lot of trouble, brother, and she needed the help of just one man. Well, technically two men, but really one man. And that is the almighty Hulkster, brother. And she asked me to save her wrestling company. And that's exactly what the Hulkster did. If many people don't realize this, but what I really did was help TNA turn a new corner, dude. Nobody wants to sit there and watch a wrestling show with a 6-sided ring, brother. We want to see 4 sides, the way everybody else has always done it for eternity and a day, brother. Now, as far as my biggest regret goes during my time in Impact Wrestling, brother, it has to be not winning the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, brother. The time was right. The moment was right. And somehow, someway, it just never materialized, brother. And that's a real shame, brother, because the Hulkster being champion, brother, is what the people really wanted, brother. Now, as far as the people that criticize me and say, oh, you brought in all the old guys, and you sat there and pushed yourself over everybody else, well, you don't get it, brother. People didn't tune in to watch these guys like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. They tuned in to watch guys like Knobs and Sags and Hall and Waltman and Nash, brother. The bottom line is Hogan and his gang equal money, brother, and everybody wants to see the almighty Hulkster, brother. What you gonna do when Hulk Hogan dominates your television show all over you? That's what the fans need to be asking themselves. Big things happen, brother. TNA is going to be worse off because they don't have Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff.
All right, so fair enough, fair enough. You're tired of the people knocking you for TNA, and you think you did wonderful things there. Let's move on then to the next question I have for you, Hulkster. A lot of fans over the years, especially those on the internet, the IWC, have knocked you for not being a great in-ring worker and have really said that that diminishes your greatness. Now, do you feel that's a fair criticism? And do you think that great in-ring work rate really matters when all is said and done at the end of the day?
You know the great thing about professional wrestling is, brother, is fans can say whatever they want, brother, even if they're completely idiotic in everything that they say, dude. Let me tell you something. If you don't think the Hulkster could get down and work in the ring, go watch some of my Japan stuff, brother. And when it comes to this whole thing about, ring work and all this other bullshit in 5-star matches, nobody made more money than me in my matches, brother. Nobody sat there and had more memorable matches and moments than me, brother. That's that whole Ric Flair BS that he tries to sit there and tell everybody to try and justify himself being better than Hulk Hogan, brother. But here's the facts. You could sit there and do 100 flips and 100 skips, but if nobody watches, nobody gives a shit. How good is your match, really, brother? Not everybody knows who Ric Flair is, dude, but I guarantee you this much. You could go to Somalia, you could go to Saudi Arabia, you could go to North Korea, and everybody, and I emphasize again, everybody knows the almighty Hulk Hogan, brother.
I know, Hulkster, I know. I'm just the award-winning YWC journalist asking you the fair and tough questions. Fair enough, fair enough. Let's move on. My next question for you is, you come from a different time in the business where having that kind of chiseled look and a larger-than-life persona really mattered, maybe more so than it does today. How do you feel about the shift in the business away from that? And could a Hulk Hogan work in today's wrestling business?
Now keep in mind, brother, that I was a very big Backstage supporter of one Austin Aries, dude. So, you know, the Hulkster tries the best he can to look out for those not named Hulk Hogan that deserve the opportunities the most, brother. But here's the bottom line, dude, is that bigger ultimately is better. Just ask Bubba the Love Sponge's wife when I got in bed with her, brother. You watch the tape and you'll find out for sure. The bottom line is, you want to know if Hulk Hogan will work today? Hulk Hogan is timeless, dude. And I could really teach these young, ungrateful, little sniveling, snobby punks a thing or two in the professional wrestling business, Jack.
Okay, now since you brought up punks, that kind of ties into my next question, Mr. Hogan, and that is for you. You've been in the business, you've worked in the business for close to 40 years now. What are your thoughts on the whole CM Punk situation? Because obviously you're not a blind man. You've been able to see all the reaction from the wrestling fans on the internet over the past week and a half. You've heard what they've had to say. What say you, Hulkster?
Well, you know, this whole CM Punk thing really bothers me, dude. And let me tell you something, brother. I'm not going to disagree with CM Punk. He's got a point. You know, he thought he deserved a main event. Now, maybe he did, and maybe he didn't. But here's what the Hulkster really knows, is that at the end of the day, you can't walk out on your audience, brother. You had a commitment. You had a contract. You had to fulfill those obligations, and you didn't, brother. And maybe just a little suggestion here to CM Punk, dude. But maybe you need to learn how the business really works, how the game is really played, huh? You have to understand that life is politics. Business is politics, and the professional wrestling business is most definitely politics, dude.
You just said that you don't feel like CM Punk understands how to play the politics game, and he got overwhelmed by it. He didn't know what to do. That kind of ties into what I wanted to talk about next, and that is that many people feel, justly or not, that you are the biggest player of the game and the biggest backstage politicker in the history of the professional wrestling business. Is that a fair label to put on you, Hulkster? And what do you say to those charges, really?
Well, you know something? That's really what burns my goatee, dude. If you want to sit there and talk about politics, I hear you, Schleg Daddy. You've been talking about this Breakfast Club. Well, here's the deal, Jack. Is I was sitting there playing politics when the Breakfast Club was having their moms and dads wipe their asses when they were in diapers, brother. You want to know who's the greatest backstage politician of all time? Ask Triple H what happens when you get behind the scenes and play the game with Hulk Hogan, brother. Ask Randy Orton how that works out, brother. You make eyes at my daughter, you're going to pay the price. You're going to get buried, brother. Nobody makes eyes, and I mean nobody makes eyes at my daughter but me, brother. Ask Shawn Michaels how that worked out, dude. You know, it was funny. WrestleMania 9, Bret Hart thought he was going to have his great moment. Well, up to that point, that show was nothing more than a 4 out of 10. And then Hulk Hogan came in, the heroic figure, black eye and all, and he beat the almighty Yokozuna and set the fans in Las Vegas home happy. Ask Scott Hall, ask Kevin Nash, ask everybody. Ask Goldberg, ask Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they'll all tell you to a man that the greatest businessman and the greatest politicker in the history of the professional wrestling business is easily Hulk Hogan, dude.
Now, since we're talking about backstage politics, let me ask a follow-up question then, Hulkster. What do you think about the people that have labeled you as selfish, and what are your thoughts on people sitting there saying that you never put anybody over, brother?
Well, let me tell you something. All these idiots and knuckleheads, these YWC, IWC virgins over the years, that the only pleasure they get on their penis is from their own hand and from popping their own zits on their face, they need to check themselves real quick at the door, dude. Because I'll put my resume up against Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's for damn sure. Who put over the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6, brother? Who put over The Undertaker, brother? Who put over Sting, brother? Who put over Goldberg, brother? Who put over The Rock at WrestleMania 18, brother? Who put over Undertaker again, brother? And Kurt Angle, brother? And Chris Jericho, brother? And Brock Lesnar, brother? And Sting again, brother? Did Stone Cold Steve Austin do that? Did Bret Hart do that? I don't think so, brother.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I agree. You put over a lot of individuals in the course of your career, but you were the Hulkster. You weren't supposed to sit there and put everybody over. You were the golden goose, and you were the star. Now, talking about the WWE here, there's been a lot of discussion as well about Daniel Bryan. If you were running the WWE right now, put yourself in the shoes of a Triple H or a Stephanie McMahon or a Vince McMahon. Would you make Daniel Bryan your WWE World Heavyweight Champion? Yes or no, and why? And then also, who would be Hogan guys on today's WWE roster?
You know something, brother? I've been really impressed with Daniel Bryan lately, and I think he's the most over performer in the WWE right now, brother. And we've got to do something to capitalize on that, brother. And so I think it would be perfectly suited for the WWE to throw him at Triple H and have him do the honors for Triple H and do the job at WrestleMania 30, brother. So that way, when Batista won the belt for Randy Orton at WrestleMania 30, brother, and he went on to feud with Triple H later on down the road, brother, it would set up an ultimate dream matchup for the WWE Universe, brother. Triple H versus Hulk Hogan for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, brother. That's what everybody wants to see, is one last title reign for the almighty Hulk Hogan, brother. And as far as Hogan guys go, the way I look at it is, you got to be big and you got to be over 40. My guys would be guys like Great Khali and Big Show and Kane and Christian and Mark Henry and William Regal, brother. But of course, Batista, brother, and Triple H, brother, and ultimately the almighty Hulk Hogan, brother.
I see. Now we get to what I feel is the most important question of all, the question that every viewer of OTRS Central is dying to know the answer to. And I'm hoping you're going to give me the answer now. Will we see Hulk Hogan back in the WWE?
I promise the fans this, brother, is you're going to see the Hulkster back in WWE sooner than you might think, dude. There's a WWE network to promote. The Hulkster needs his royalty checks, brother. WrestleMania 30 just wouldn't feel right with Hulk Hogan, would it, brother? Of course. And then they're going to make me the on-screen authority figure, brother. And they're going to bring in Sting. And then they're going to have me win the belt. And then it's going to be Hogan versus Sting for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at Survivor Series 2014, brother. That's what everybody wants to see, brother. And I can't wait to come back and teach a whole new generation of the WWE Universe how Hulkamania rules and will live forever.
Hulkster, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to grace us here at OTRS Central with your presence. My last question for you. Do you have any parting words, any final inspirational messages that you'd love to give myself and or the OTRS Central audience at this time?
My message is this, brother. I want to thank the Schley Daddy for bringing me on to OTRS Central, brother. You guys make sure you do the honors and you do the job and you click that subscribe button, brother. And you sit there and follow OTRS Central on Twitter. Their Twitter handle is @OffTheRopeShow. And rest assured, WWE fans and OTRS Central viewers, you will very soon be saying Hulk Hogan is here in WWE. If you do the training, you say the prayers, and you eat the vitamins, someday you could be just like the almighty Hulkster. And what you're gonna do when Hulk Hogan comes back and wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on you.